The At Your Instep podcast is brought to you by Comic Town. Check them out at www.worldofcomictown.com or search for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your Instep. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And Dave.
Yo.
I'm unflappable.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, you've come a long way.
Yeah, I try. I figured that
You deserve,
Mike's done that to you.
You deserve a Virginia Slim based on what I just said.
Yeah, you did that to him at least half the episodes.
Half the episodes?
No, I don't think so. I think they've been fairly
half.
spaced. Maybe it's because we haven't done as many episodes in this time period. It seems that
I bring it back every now and then. Sometimes you got to dust off the classics.
Yeah, you got to keep me on my toes. I understand that. So we have another fun-filled episode for you folks today. We have a few community topics we wanted to discuss and kind of move into a little bit of maybe some pre-release talk, just like a little tiny bit, because Mike and I did some pre-releases over the weekend. And then we have a question of the week, and then we have the Star City Games Columbus Open, coming this weekend. So we want to talk about Standard and what that may look like, and what some of our testing has yielded. So of course that's what that's really what you guys came here for. We understand that. So it's definitely not our jovial voices laughing and making jokes, bringing joy to your life. I understand. You just came here for the hard facts.
I think some of them come there for the fun.
I don't think so. I think it's just
why not both?
Yeah, why can't it be like the fun and the like it's like you don't go like bring the noise, bring the funk just to see the noise or just to see the funk.
That's true.
You go for both experiences.
It is a combo sort of thing.
Like,
I understand.
You gotta have it's both. You know what I mean? Like you could have
I want to be the guy that's like, I'm just here for the funk, man. Put me in the funk section.
Like you don't want to be that boring person who's just getting mounds. You want almond joy. You want a little bit of both in your life.
Yeah, but sometimes you feel like a nut, and sometimes you don't.
To listen to this podcast, you best feel like a nut.
Fair enough.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, now you can send all your, almond joy hate mail to atyourInstep@gmail.com.
Like anyone who's not a nut.
Yeah, we haven't had any apologies to certain groups in a while.
I apologize to Mounds.
Yeah, Instep would like to apologize.
Peter Paul, whatever the company is, you make one good candy bar and one that could be better.
Which you've already displayed by making it so.
Spoiler alert, I have the directions for how to make it better.
I'd like to... which one came first?
Chicken.
No, I mean between Mounds and Almond Joy. Was it an addition or a subtraction?
I'm going to say Almond Joy came first.
Yeah, theoretically, right? We're going to look it up. I'm going to keep the show going. But
people don't like the almond.
So we'll look it up here. Yeah. Anyway, while Mike looks it up, I'm going to go ahead and get started on some of the community topics. So the first thing that we wanted to talk about is Wizard recently had a press release that came out kind of updating them on their digital sort of paradigm or what have you.
Mounds came almost 20 years before. We didn't get the Almond Joy until after World War II. But I have to understand... that means, in my mind, we won World War II to obtain almond joys. That's what we were fighting for.
We didn't have the joy of almonds.
I don't think that's what. I don't think I don't remember the Axis being and we have all the almonds, so you can never add them to your.
Well, we have to go to war.
Go take a look at the Berlin Pact. I mean, almond joy is all over that.
No, maybe. I don't think that's accurate.
All we have is these stupid mounds. We need to add something more to this.
We've been rationing throughout this entire war.
That's so crazy to me, because it's we're going to add something to actually make less people be able to eat this because of
I also need to know
does coconut does coconut actually cross over with other nut allergies? I don't even know. There's so many things that I
don't know that either. That's actually a crazy question.
I have so many questions now. I don't even want to talk about magic this week.
Yeah, welcome to Coconut Talk. I need you to know that Mound's original slogan, according to Wikipedia, was, quote, indescribably delicious. Which I need you to understand the logical fallacy of writing the phrase indescribably delicious, because by doing that, you've attempted to describe how delicious it is, therefore making it describable. You are monsters, and your slogan is trash.
Well, I mean, most of the times when you see something I was in indescribable pain, so I don't know. I don't think I'd want to have anything that was indescribably delicious. I think it'd be just too overwhelming to my senses, right?
I guess.
I guess you could take it that way. Yeah.
I need to understand. Apparently, there is a competing bar made by the Mars brand, called the Bounty Bar.
Oh.
But it is not sold in the United States.
Interesting.
Like,
It's too good. That was the that was like the German version. Though.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't see them around here.
They do a good job. Almond does a good job keeping bounties out of the bounty bars out of the country. So
I've heard that's Boba Fett's favorite, though. So. Anyway, so let's get back to talking about the.
I'm really sorry about all that.
No, it's great. That was good. That was a good bit. So let's talk about Wizards' digital future. So we obviously know that Chris Cox is the president of Wizards of the Coast. He does have a sort of a technical sort of an IT company background. He's worked with was it Microsoft, I believe,
Yes.
in previous roles. So we have already sort of expected new digital paradigms to sort of be coming out of Wizards at this point in time. And with this press release, we kind of see that they are obviously making moves to do this. So I'm just going to read sort of the bullet points, and then we'll kind of dive deeper into each of them. So basically, they are pursuing browser improvements to make WotC a bit more of a digital first company, so that we are reimagining digital versions of Magic and other Wizards games. We are bringing our characters and worlds to other games and experiences, and then we are making Wizards experiences more efficient and connected and convenient. I had an extra hand in there. I apologize. So we kind of expected this with Magic Online, new digital Magic Online, or whatever it is, been going by as like the conference call moniker it's gotten, which people have latched onto. So we kind of expected this with Magic, that there would be a new version of Magic Online, and they basically formed a digital studio within WotC. So WotC's digital game studio is how it's listed, and they have hired on people that have had industry veterans and backgrounds and that have worked for other game companies like Direwolf Digital, Valve, Cryptic Studios, Warner Brothers Interactive, Activision of BioWare, amongst others. So people with pedigrees in making digital games, which I think is a really good step. So what do you guys think about that first part?
Well, that's something new for them, right? Because weren't they all like in-house before? That's basically why Magic Online has been kind of like a trash fire forever.
Well, and they also as far as they've licensed to a few other things like Puzzle Quest and that sort of thing, but they didn't really have a way to do that themselves. So it makes sense. And also saying that the Magic Online team is now included in this group is like I'm glad, but it's also really sad that a phrase like that has to be said. Like, hey, we created this digital game studio, and we promise. We invited Moto. We did. We didn't want to.
Out of courtesy,
but we knew that you'd be upset if we didn't. We really wanted to just lock them out and tell them we were having a good party time and make them just hear it through the door.
I'm excited because they are going out and forking over the money to, at least hopefully, hire people that have a good enough pedigree in this industry. Yeah, hiring talent. So hopefully that's the case. You just have company names. You don't exactly know who they are hiring necessarily, and what they have worked on. But when I see a company on there that Direwolf Digital that has successfully made very popular digital games already, with Eternal coming out and the Elder Scrolls card game that is out and very popular as well. That does bring me hope. Those games are definitely a little bit more simpler. Magic, but they're just different. They just have different game mechanics than Magic. Obviously, some similarities as you'll have with all card games, but that does interest me a little bit deeper, and hopefully we can have this talent and actually create something good, like a good product.
I'm just excited for the potential of a new version of Magic Online that is just both user-friendly and also lends itself to streaming a little bit better than the current one does.
Mm-hmm.
I think when streaming's really exploded over the past, 5 years maybe? Would you say about 5 years?
Yeah, I would agree.
And Magic Online has just been surpassed by a lot of other games like Hearthstone and things like that. So hopefully, they're able to bring it up to speed with some of the competitors that they have. But one thing I've seen tossed around is like, maybe they'll be coming out with a version that is kind of like a simpler version, like
a Magic Light,
almost like you can see like they've already like kind of they're kind of going in the direction of like almost making it like Hearthstone in some ways, treasure chests and things like that they've come out with recently. And I hope whatever it is that they do, I hope they keep the game mechanics intact. While improving on other things that they could do. So, yeah,
I mean, I've seen that thrown around as well. Like, does this new paradigm with the Magic Online mean a shift in actual game mechanics, like how Magic is? Do they try to simplify it in order to gain a bigger audience when releasing this new digital product? And I think it's a slippery slope. I think what makes Magic so unique and so special for a lot of people is the actual gameplay, how the game actually works, and the infinite ways that you can actually play it. So I think if they were to this is pure speculation, but if they were to make a shift like that, then I think that would they would have to like have two separate products, and one that is sort of that beginner version and one that's is robust and has all of the features.
What do you think about like a new version of like Chandelar?
Well, I mean,
you have to like go around and collect cards.
I mean, we'll talk about that in the next bullet point. But I didn't want to skip over Mike if he had any opinions on this.
I will say that I think they have to be careful with that. Like, so like I think there's some allure to like making the game more like obtainable, if that makes sense. But at the same time, like the reason all these other card games exist and keep popping up is because of Magic. Like if you don't think that's true, you're foolish. Like most of the like people that work for these companies are Magic players, like former Magic pros and etc. Like they keep designing games like this. They keep trying to find the next Magic. So to dumb down like the rules to make a version that's easier for digital consumers to buy doesn't make a lot of sense when like the other games are still chasing you. I think online the functionality of Moto obviously needs fixed, but like the reason that Moto is still as popular and successful as it is and still makes them oodles of money is because the game of Magic is great. All three of us sitting here know that the Magic Online client is garbage, knows that it crashes all of the time, know that it frustrates us a bunch, and yet every single time we want to do something, whether it's the cube coming back up for you, Dave, or the possibility of playing Sweet Leagues, you know what I mean? Like there we are playing it. It's the game. So to also lose the bridge between like players in store, then when they leave their game store and going, man, I still want to play Magic, right? Like, oh, I guess I'll play this. Like, people go from Duels of the Planeswalkers to Paper Magic. They don't go from Paper Magic to being super excited about Duels. They go from Paper Magic to Magic Online. So I don't know. I guess like I just sort of like doesn't make sense for me to hear about this like dumbed down version.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, what I could see them doing is melding the two. Basically, is you have a client that is robust, that is a nice to look at, has a well designed UI that has a single player component that teaches you the game, like Magic Online, like Duels, so the Planeswalkers does, and then once like you can either pursue that or you can build. You have access to every card in Magic through some facet, whether it be buying packs, whether it be buying cards, what have you, and then you can have all the same functionality that you currently have with Magic Online. The game literally has a single player and a multiplayer component, and Duels does have some layer of multiplayer component, but it just doesn't have the same depth of actual card availability, which is what really cuts it off from competing with Magic Online.
Sure.
Like the game itself just can't. They wouldn't be able to just program every card you could ever want in there. Play every format. So that's what I could see happening.
I just want to be able to play Magic Online on my iPad.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
not an Apple product at all.
Right. I think like that also has to be like where they need to be focusing is literal mobility. Like the idea of a new card-based game coming out and it only being able to be played on like a Windows computer is laughable, absolutely comical. You cut off so much of your market by doing that, and that's not how people like want to play these type of games necessarily. Like, you obviously have streamers that want to do that, and that works out very beneficial for them. But I mean, like, your common consumer is on the go. Your common consumer just wants to, play Magic on their phone, and that sounds very alluring. Like, that sounds very powerful. And if you take a look at like the mobile marketplace and like how games gross, they all have treasure chests, they all have loot boxes or something of that persuasion. And Magic invented the loot box. All right, it's called a booster pack. I hate to tell you this.
How many packs did you win, or how many loot boxes did you win at your pre-release?
6. I opened 6 loot boxes. There were no legendaries in there, unfortunately. No. I don't know, maybe. I don't think any of my rares were technically legendary creatures. Legendary is a different term. We could think like, WoW for that, but if you shift that over to a mobile platform, like, you're going to get a lot of people really invested in the game, especially if you do have the intro, the beginning, this is how you play Magic, and then leads them into the bigger game. But yeah, the digital client is going to be the new onboarding process, if it's good enough. Like, and that's how it's going to be, because people are intimidated by, going into stores a lot of the time, which I can't blame them. It takes a lot of, effort to actually like work up courage and like go to a store and stuff like that. But if I have access to it online, then I'll just do that. So I think like this new digital client, whenever it releases, definitely has to be comparable to what else is out there, which means being able to play it on most anything that you have. So we will see what happens with that. No, Dave, you brought up Chandelar.
Yeah, which, if you don't know, is a game that came out in the 90s, I think. Correct. And it was like a CD-ROM based.
Yeah, and it was like a pseudo adventure game. You like walked around on a map, and you had random encounters that you could see, and you built a deck as you go. Yeah. And so it was basically sort of an adventure game or an RPG where all the battles were duels of Magic, basically, from what I've seen.
You can have like up to like any number of, like, you didn't have a limit on numbers of cards. You could have like 20 Black Lotuses in your deck.
So that kind of brings me to the idea of like Magic is now going to be or WotC as a whole is now going to be looking for ways to actively license their characters to other companies to build games for, which is basically what they're saying with this. Like, we're going to bring our characters to other games, so you could theoretically have a Magic or a Magic themed MMORPG if you really wanted to, or an adventure game with the Gatewatch or something like that. Theoretically, like I think that is enticing, but every licensed game definitely has to be a good game at heart. And if they go with the approach that I think a lot of more people have been more guarded with their properties, and as opposed to like just letting them out. But there have been some licensed games recently that have been very, very good. I think the Shadows of Mordor, which is a Lord of the Rings licensed game, but doesn't necessarily take place in any of the movies or anything like that. But it was a very, very well received game that came out. And you also don't see as many licensed games come out for like movies. You don't have the expected tie-in license game.
Tie-in anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting idea. We'll see where they take that. You have started to see, I think, the concept behind that. Them starting to even merge a little bit. You've seen like the D&D like options where you can play like Magic planes. Right?
Yes.
Like we've seen those, which is is pretty cool. So it makes sense. Like if you're going to put all this time into world building, but only look at all the world building we had for Kaladesh, and we're going to leave it. Like a couple weeks, Aether Revolt will feel like old news. We'll be talking about Standard. We'll be talking about Amonkhet, right? Mm-hmm. But there's so much here that it makes a lot of sense for them to do that.
Yeah.
So we'll just see what they do.
You literally have worlds like. So I think like the awesome thing that you could truly do with Magic as a property is the Lego games. So if you had the Lego games, and if you don't know what those are, so those are they're based on the properties that Lego actually makes. So you have like the Harry Potter Lego games and the Star Wars Lego games. If you had a Magic Lego game,
Man, that'd be sweet.
That'd be sweet. You definitely have to build up the IP. Like Magic is not as popular as Harry Potter. Magic is not as popular as Star Wars, but the depth is there, and like the play style is most certainly there, as well as like the character depth. There, those Lego games you can play as nearly everyone that's ever been in a Star Wars games or Star Wars movie.
Character depth with amount of characters should not be equated. Just throwing that out there.
Like, okay. Like the roster is what I mean.
There's a number of characters on that roster that are just like scratch and sniff characters.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And like, I don't know, like Chandra doesn't have too much depth. I hate to tell you, she gets angry and she burns.
No, but you don't necessarily need the Lego games aren't necessarily about depth. They're about like good gameplay.
No, they're good gameplay. Yeah,
and like you have all these worlds and you have like a literal conceit to be like, let's go from this like segment and vignette to a different one that's like completely different. So if you were to be able to do that, like that is an amazing like merging of like properties as far as that goes. But I think it's kind of interesting the sort of idea that hopefully what WotC will do is match what good game companies can do with their property and like pick the right people for the right job. And this also means that we don't have to worry about like WotC internally trying to develop something and it being not great because that's not necessarily their forte. So. And I think the last one we kind of saw pretty succinctly. Experiences being efficient, connected, and convenient. And then we can even like loop this around to like experiences being convenient. So experiences being mobile. Like we already discussed.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much more Magic Online I would play if I could play it on my phone or on a tablet or something like that. So I mean, I'm sure they know that. So hopefully they turn that into something.
Yeah, and they even talk about like being matched at a big tournament, tracking your achievements, friends list, getting friends together for a game night. Like they're really saying like we know that these are things that are important. And even when you have big game companies that have troubles with online infrastructure, Nintendo. That have been around and know, to have, a company that is sort of fledgling in that department acknowledge these needs and wants is rather important when you are considering that they are, trying to make a good digital product. So I hope, I think this press release is very, is somewhat vague, but definitely, seems like they're heading in the right direction, and hopefully we hear more soon, or sooner at least, rather than later. But we have a dead show. I think I have a good question of the week about Magic and its future.
Fair enough.
So moving on, we of course are on the verge of Aether Revolt. Coming out of Magic Online, and they've decided to finally go away from Magic Online pre-releases. So no more pre-releases for Magic Online. When the set is released, then you will just have the regular events. So we won't have pre-releases. We won't have like weird release events or anything like that, right? It's just we have our standard leagues and drafts and what have you, which is great.
Yeah, I think it was always confusing to me, though for myself, I pretty much almost exclusively play Cube on Magic Online at this point, so that never really was my thing anyway. But I always thought it was confusing that they had pre-release events and then release events, and just the fact that the set comes out on Magic Online after it does in paper, it like doesn't really feel like a pre-release because it's like I've already played with these cards at my real pre-release.
Yeah,
this isn't like
you don't have that uniqueness.
Not an actual pre-release, like.
Well, I think that's always been true. Like that's just the sad fact. Like pre-releases they're social experiences. Like you go, they've really also tried to make it so that, what I mean? You had like shared goals to do this sort of thing, and then these are like open new cards, and you're just like, but what about this as a pre-release?
But I played with these like 2 weeks ago.
You get a new icon and a promo, but you get to spend $6 more than a regular sealed pool.
Yeah, you got to get that avatar, man.
So yeah, this is a no-brainer.
They're also doing a weird new queue. It is a single game match draft league. So what this means is that you will get paired against an opponent, and you guys will play
one game,
a game, just a game. and none of that sideboard business. You can just take the other cards that you opened and you can just put them in, just hide them because you won't need them, and you will. Let's see. Yeah, I think you play until you get either 7 wins or 4 losses.
Yeah. So you play for as long as you can, essentially, until you either have 7 wins or 4 losses, and depending on how many wins you have, you get a certain number of play points. Now, if you're in this for the value,
well, no. So, like, how many play points is it to enter?
To enter, 120.
Now, if I win 7 times, like, how much do I get?
Like at least double, right? Oh no, you get 100. You get 120.
So you
get
literally
to free roll into another one.
Interesting.
I guess you get to keep the cards you draft.
Yes, you do. Good, but also I have to win 7 times to do this again.
Well, it's like you have to win 7 times in a row. You have to win 7 times. Well,
in general,
4 times.
Right, correct. Which, sure, it can be achievable. But again, this is just 7 games as opposed to 7 matches, which is a little bit different. But yeah, this is a fairly interesting queue, and a lot of people have been obviously comparing this to Hearthstone.
No, you can make value on the arena.
that is very true. Also, in the arena, you never have mana issues, so there's that.
I will say this does. They said their main component was this to offer something that was time efficient for players who did want to commit to an entire hour to a match. If that does it for you and that works, that's great. But I can't see this overtaking the popularity of regular leagues.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not going to replace regular leagues. You're still going to be able to have the option to play regular matches. I do think it's cool. There are people out there.
Yes, there are.
That they just enjoy drafting decks. They don't even want to play. It's like they just want to draft and then go do another draft. So I mean
that is true.
I know people like that. So I mean I like playing the games as well. I enjoy the whole experience. But if you just want to draft a lot of decks, then I guess that's a good way. And I think in a new format, this may be the most efficient way to get the most drafts under your belt. You're probably going to lose a lot of money doing it, but it's nice to have another option. It's just again, if you're in it for the value or trying to go infinite, then it's probably not going to work out well.
Awesome. I was just trying to see if they're finally adding the because they are changing the treasures chest, and there's a card from Conspiracy 2 that has yet to be added, but it's shown up in Legacy in multiple top 8s and wins.
Oh, Leovold?
No.
Not that one.
Not that one. That one's been in treasure chest. It's the Palace Jailer. That's what it is. And gotta go with Big No and Palace Jailer.
Yeah, they are updating the treasure chest. They're
they're curating
some
the
more
list.
Cards in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still have never opened one, so I don't know.
Yeah,
never had one. Never will.
Well, one day you'll get
Maybe
that.
Someday, yeah.
One day you'll get that, in common that makes you the monarch and takes a creature. I know it is or was in Dave's cube, but you can't have it on Magic Online yet. Sorry, folks. At least I think you can. Maybe they added it and I didn't know. I don't necessarily keep up on that stuff all the way, but who knows? But yeah, so those are sort of the interesting things coming to Magic Online in the near future. The last thing we're going to talk about in the community is a bit of a change in some tournament rules, and mainly just one big one that we wanted to talk about. And it's about pile shuffling in quotation marks. There's been a clarification on this rule, and it is at this point in time been said that you can only pile shuffle once, and that is the beginning of the match. Is that
once per game?
Yeah,
at the beginning of the game. Yeah,
beginning of the game. Yeah.
The last change indicated once per randomization.
Gotcha.
Which suggested you could pile shuffle anytime you had to shuffle your deck. Now they've distinctly said that's not happening.
Yeah. So, not that anyone necessarily was doing that, but at least.
Oh no, some people were.
Those
are bad people.
That seems atrocious.
Even if you're just asking the question, wait, does that mean I could do this once per Like, no, just don't.
Yeah, once per game.
Once per game, that's pretty much all. Like, that's what I was already doing, if at all. Sometimes I don't even pile shuffle. So
Yeah, because pile shuffling it isn't shuffling. It's not a valid form of randomization. It's pile counting. It's what it really is. And sometimes you do need to count. Make sure you do have an accurate amount of cards in your deck, which makes sense. And I wouldn't hold that against anyone, but it is not randomization enough to be qualified as shuffling per.
Oh, no, it's not randomization at all. It's cheating if you just try to do that and then present the deck.
Yeah.
So I understand. I've heard all the arguments like, well, it reduces clumping, then I can shuffle. No.
Just riffle.
It doesn't do that. Mathematically, it literally doesn't do that. It argues if you pile shuffle without doing any other kind of shuffling, then it's arguing that like you're just actually creating the same clump over and over again. If you say, well, I shuffle other ways in between, then I would suggest, why are you piling? You don't need to do it. Just keep shuffling the other way. 7 riffle shuffles is
sufficient randomization.
I understand the need to count and do it, but stop fighting this. Like, just recognize it. So much of piling is cheating. Just don't do it.
I don't know of anybody that is mad about this. Have you seen anybody?
I have seen on the social medias. Yes, there are advocates.
Okay, well, from what I've heard and interacted with people, everybody's pretty happy with this. So
Wizards has to keep clarifying it, so somebody's upset.
Well, I mean, come on. Of course, someone's upset. Someone's always upset about something.
I guess that's true.
Let's be real here. But that is the last thing. So with the open coming up, then now you're fully informed on pile counting and when you can actually do it and how many times you can actually do it. So before we get to talk about pre-releases and all the rest of the jazz, we do want to give a shout out to Comic Town. This Friday, they're going to have members of Team Metagame Gurus spell slinging from 8:30 to 10:30 p.m. and you can come challenge the guys in Standard, Modern, or Legacy to win BCW products and of course Team Metagame Gurus swag. So that's pretty awesome. And then Comic Town will also be featuring a full slate of events. In the coming weeks, so we have Saturday, January 28th. We'll kick off the season for the Comic Town Championship Series. It's going to be a modern 2K, and it'll have cash prizes paid out at the top 16, and an invite to the Championship Series final at the end of the year. And then on Sunday, the 29th, Comic Town will be hosting a standard format SCG IQ. It'll be a 1K, and it'll pay out to the top 8, and the top 2 finishers will earn SCG Invitational qualifications. And of course, in February, you do have Cersei Games Regionals coming up as well, and Comic Town will be the host of that. But if you want to find out more about that particular event, we'll be talking about it next week. Or you can check out the website, worldofcomictown.com, or look them up on Facebook, Comic Town Gaming Center. So Mike and I pre-released over the weekend, and you just did the Two-Headed Giant, and then we both did a single.
We did a single Sunday event in Two-Headed Giant, yeah. Which is more than I think we even alluded to doing last week. So
which was done.
I always do Two-Headed Giant with my wife, so that was fine. And then the Sunday one, we went to a store we hadn't actually been to that was really close to, literally right next to where Morgan and I live, and just it was very casual and had fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Oh, and Morgan beat the brakes off everybody.
Yeah,
he's a big meanie going into a pond that he should not have been in.
Clearly. Hey, we were both big fish in that pond.
I started to notice too. I know what you're talking about.
I mean,
I was home.
So how was the Two-Headed Giant experience? Because I didn't do a Two-Headed Giant. Usually I like to do a Two-Headed Giant of these sort of events as well.
It was okay. Our pools were average. We did open, my wife and I did open 2 Smoker's Copters, which are very good, don't get me wrong, but also feels awful. I need you to know that I opened the first one and laughed. I was like, okay, well, at least it's good and sealed. And my wife was like, oh, is this the card you're talking about? I'm like, yeah, it is. I'm so glad these are worthless. So for anyone else, especially a player who is like, oh, I'm going to play this in Standard, I'm very sorry for you.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the bans a little bit more, but that's part of the thing. That is a downside to a ban that you can't mitigate. So.
No.
They didn't have any kind of redemption program, did they?
No, other games did.
Yeah.
I remember they had this is way back in the day, but back when they banned Tolarian Academy in Standard, they had like if you mailed Tolarian Academies to Wizards, they would send you packs.
That feels like
Jeez.
So anybody who
now it's like
anybody who did that made a bad mistake.
You know what? I would have to say that smokescopters, I would feel free to ship those away, get packs.
That
please.
I would.
Please, Wizards. Please. I have 4.
My 7.
I knew somebody that had a playset of Academies that he just ripped in half and then he taped them to his box, like his long box that he had. And it's like,
Well, that's aged well.
Sadness.
yeah.
But anyways, the Tutor Giant was fun. There are a number of cards that incidentally say each opponent. The 2/3 guy that sacrifices an artifact does 2 damage to each opponent. There's an energy card that like you sacrifice it and each opponent loses 3 life. So there are some ways to interact that way, but it's just like any other sealed format. Maybe even worse. The bomb rares are the bomb. So it was all right though.
Good. As far as the the regular sealed pre-release events, they were a good time. As far as like the new, I feel like the archetypes that were in Kaladesh definitely got reinforced very, very well with Aether Revolt. I really felt like most of the decks that I played against were very like synergistic. I don't think I played against a lot of like brute power decks. I really felt like everyone was trying to like play into what their color was designed to do, which felt really good.
How did the new mechanics play out in Limited?
Fairly well. The first round I played against a gentleman who had the black-white enchantment.
Something stash.
Secret stash or something like that. And he had 2 of them. And was able like that card is an engine in itself. It does everything. It slices and dices. It enables revolt and has revolt ability. So having that card in his deck, he was able to take full advantage of it pretty consistently. And I didn't see with the matches that I played. I don't think I saw very much revolt in general. But again, I didn't feel like. The cards themselves like played poorly with each other, if that makes any sense.
It felt like again, I think Revolt was easy to pull off if you wanted to. Black White felt like a deck. Improvise worked well in the decks that it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Like even like the counter sub themes are still like in this set were really good. Just like the random synergies of putting counters on things, even if you didn't have any like the rares.
Yeah, that I feels like that archetype. Like Green Black was supposed to be that archetype in Kaladesh, but I don't feel like that was very strong.
It is now though. Like,
but yeah, Aether Revolt, because my deck that I was able to build was a Green Black +1/+1 counter themed deck.
Stockpile, by the way, not secret stash.
In stockpile.
I was like, that can't be the right name.
No.
You knew what we meant.
Yeah, correct. But yeah, Green Black was the deck that I got to play, and I had some very, very gross sort of synergies to go along with what I was doing. Plus, I mean, like opening a Mythic Rare Planeswalker and Nissa Vital Force was decent. It was fine.
You say D's plus?
Yeah, it's D's plus, definitely. Yeah, that card's gross. I haven't ever like cast or played with that card. Pretty sick. Never ultimated it. Didn't need to. Just like take up.
That's not really an ultimate.
Take up and take down like that. That's perfectly fine. There's definitely some instances where I got to like tick down and get like insane value, which was pretty great.
That's what it does.
Yeah, a pseudo Eternal Witness
/5/5.
Yeah,
right.
slash 5/5 was pretty good. Yeah, but that card it definitely was really weird. I had some really weird instances where it's like, oh well, I could like ultimate it here, but I don't have any lands in hand, so it's like, yeah, just no. I was gonna return stuff from my graveyard. I think it's
yeah. I had fun.
Nice.
I didn't do well, but I opened a Saheeli, so
yeah. So you paid for your pre-release.
that value. And my wife went 3-1 and did pretty well. So
yeah,
it was fun and casual. Open packs, played with them, enjoyed it, and move on.
Yeah, pretty much. So next up is our question of the week. We kind of alluded to this in the palooza. And we wanted to get more in depth with what the bannings will do to our favorite constructed formats, being standard and modern, and that's what we're going to take a time out to do at this point. So let's talk shop. Let's really dive into standard here. Copter being banned, Reflector Mage being banned, Emrakul being banned. This does shake up the format, and we have tried to figure out what it's going to look like, what we're going to do, and we as a community know that, including WotC knows about it too, is the combo deck that they have allowed to exist in the format, which is the Saheeli Rai.
Which one? Hey!
the Saheeli Rai Felidar Guardian combo, which does function similarly to Splinter Twin. Copycat, as some people
it has picked up a lot of steam.
It does. It has.
I think Sam Starr even called it Copycat.
He did.
So
Much to people's chagrin, apparently, I saw some people saying that wasn't very new player friendly to call it that, and that it should be more descript in its deck name.
Saheeli Guardian. There, I fixed it.
Yeah. People like saying that it should be called a Jeskai.
It takes
Saheeli
10 seconds
combo
to explain it. The first time you explain it, it's no longer new to the person. I hate people.
Yeah, people are bad. I understand.
People are complaining about the power shuffle rule, so
that's true. Everyone complains about everything. So we have that as being sort of the level 0 deck. Boogeyman in the room already before the format's even started. But we already had a Jeskai control deck that existed in Kaladesh, and that made some waves at the Pro Tour, but kind of fell out of favor when we settled down to having
when everyone was casting Emrakul.
Yeah, black green, and we had Flash and we had Marvel, and those just became the big decks in the room. But now we already have this shell that exists, and we have this combo that exists. So now we get to play this combo control deck within the format. As far as anyone in this room that's played the most matches with that sort of deck, it would be you, Mike.
Yeah, I'm the hostess with the mostest playing time. Playing the deck, yeah. I sort of got kind of lucky when I was able to pick up Saheeli's and pick up Torrential Gear Hulks, which sort of I was like, it was pretty easy to put the deck together, and it's one of the nice things about just maintaining a standard mana base is you can kind of do what you want. So I started moving in on it, just looking at some of the control shells that we had at the end of the last format. Actually, Tan and Grace, the Tan and Grace had an article. I don't remember what website he writes for. I'm sorry, but discussing his list right before rotation, and that's kind of where I started and started playing around with that and seeing where I could find games, just try it out. It's the combo is good. Shocking. Spoiler alert. If you
see what you did there.
If you have SCG Premium, I would strongly suggest watching the Ross Miriam versus Brad Nelson versus video. Just watching even Brad win games where he was just oh, I don't think I could have won that game, but look what I drew. You know what I mean? And that's frustrating. Now Ross also playing Ross also playing a deck that just didn't have enough removal to pressure the combo. But the fact that you can't pressure the combo with creatures in a format that has been so heavily geared towards playing creatures is concerning. I don't think it's so. I think by definition the combo is broken because it's a broken interaction that shouldn't exist in standard. I think it's hard to argue that Wizards knew about it when they put it in. It's just really hard to go back and read the banning descriptions and then be but we purposely put this in here. This was an oopsie. So we'll see what that does. I do think that you'll see people be very upset about it week 1. And I think it's mostly because people don't know how to play against it. It's the same thing with Twin.
So you're saying just get ready for the overreaction after this weekend?
No, tons of overreaction. It may very well win the Open, but I would say wait for a little bit. Wait for the Pro Tour, because the average player who plays a lot of Standard and has only played for a couple years, hasn't played Modern a lot, probably doesn't know how to play against Splinter Twin now. You know what I mean? either they didn't play against it a lot in Modern or have never played against it because when they got into the game, or like they just forgot, right? But this is going to be pretty skill intensive and how you push the format. Yeah, your opponent's sometimes going to top deck it no matter what you did. Like you'll strip their hand and somehow like they will Glimmer of Genius and they'll draw both of them and just be like, oh look, I killed you, because that combo can do that on turn 6. And I think that's probably the scariest part of the combo is Twin can never do that.
Yeah.
Because your creature never got haste.
Yeah, you could never just like have it. You could never have 7 mana and just have it.
Well, I mean, like you could still cast the
or
Twin
6
combo
mana,
for
yeah,
6
mana, yeah.
But like again, it never had haste, so it didn't matter.
Yeah.
7 mana you could. Kiki-Jiki could do.
Kiki-Jiki could, yeah.
You could still do that in Modern, though. It's not good enough. No. Making one of the things have 4 toughness and the other one be a Planeswalker, though, is awkward. Yeah. I think after playing it a bunch, I think that the combo is very good. The Jeskai shells, whether it be pure control, whether it be protection, are good. I do think the protection shell is worse. Like if you're just playing like Spellcallers and Dispels, like you're asking to die with a bunch of Spellcallers and Dispels in hands, because there are still a lot of decks that are going to pressure you. But I also do think that like the people who are saying it's not going to be good enough because look at all the ways I can interact do not understand how actual draws work in Magic sometimes. It's like, well, I'm just playing like 9 removal spells. It's like, okay, they will pressure you still though. Like,
yeah.
So I do think like there's decks that can beat it consistently, and it's going to be like it's going to have to be a deck that can apply both pressure and interaction.
Yeah.
Pressure alone won't be enough, and interaction alone won't be enough.
Yeah, I think the thing that you need to understand with this is that if you're not putting enough pressure on that deck, there will reach a certain point in the game where, say, like if your primary form of interaction is like what's like a 3-mana removal spell, like a murder or something, a murder or something like that, right? There will come a point in the game where like you might just die, so you have to constantly hold up 3 mana. So it's just like, oh, you just got triple Stone Rain because you can't tap out.
And
that's the thing. So if you don't have enough pressure on them, and then they're threatening to just kill you out of nowhere, then you're kind of just stuck between a rock and a hard place. 'Cause it's like, oh, I could tap out here, but then I could just die. Or I could leave mana open, but then I'm not actually doing anything, and then they're just developing their board. So that's what it does.
Playing lands is developing their board. So.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I mean that's what a combo like that does.
Yeah, and I think people will get used to playing against it. And the biggest thing is going to be knowing when you think it's safe to go for it, or knowing when the highest percentage chance is. Like what Dave literally you just said. Like I'm going to essentially if I decide on this critical turn to not tap out for this creature, despite having this removal spell, then I'm deciding I'm gonna give up 4, 8, 12 mana over the next few turns. So sometimes you're gonna have to weigh the options, and you're gonna have to decide it's time to do this, right? So it's interesting. It's interesting that like this combo gets to exist and already define. Like you want to talk about format defining, which isn't necessarily the worst thing ever, but like it's gonna be format defining. Before it is before we even have an event and after the bannings, and that's weird.
There is already an article out that is a deck guide to the copycat deck, which blows my mind because how can you have a deck guide for a deck against other decks that you don't even know exist in the form? I don't understand. Are you for the future?
Felidar Guardian doesn't even.
Did you say it was like Seth Manfield? He might be from the future.
He could be from the future.
He went on such a heater that he may have gone in time. Like,
got forward in time.
To like
he stole Biff's almanac.
He stole the almanac and he looked and he's like, "Wow, I won all these tournaments. Oh, that's cool. Like, I don't even have to do anything. I'm going to make the money. Oh, that's a cool movie.
I knew exactly what deck to play at every tournament.
That's crazy.
Because I already won them.
But I agree.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's weird.
I agree with you, and it surprises me that Wizards, if they, I agree with you that Wizards did not know about this because the idea that they think that a Splinter Twin hurts diversity in Modern, and they are okay with having a Splinter Twin-esque combo in Standard, and wanting to make bannings to help diversity in do you see the argument I'm trying to make?
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. Like every deck has to be prepared for this, and that's how it was in Modern. Even if you could play a tournament in Modern and never play against Splinter Twin, but you always had to have a way of interacting with it. And Modern had a plethora of ways of interacting with that deck. Standard does as well, and people have made that argument. But again, Mike's argument with that's just not how draws work out sometimes. Yes, you can play Shock in your deck, and that does interact profitably with the combo, but you just may not have it. Like,
what does it do against like a Torrential Gearhulk?
Nothing.
Like if they're playing like a version that is,
it does technically do 2 damage.
Yeah, if they're playing a version that is more slanted towards control with a combo finish, then Shock is a way to
combo finish. It's just control with a combo kill.
Yeah,
sure.
It's like a little garnish.
Yeah, and I
that's
feel
the
like
alternate kill condition.
I feel like that's those are some of the best control decks though.
The ones that can threaten to kill you.
Yeah. The ones that can control the entire.
Most control decks can't. They can't threaten to kill you. You know when you're dead.
That's what Splinter Twin was. I mean, it won a lot of games just by like casting Vendilion Click or like Pestermite beatdowns or whatever.
Yeah,
because you had one bolt in your hand and you couldn't kill. Yeah, you couldn't kill the Vendilion Click because then you couldn't kill the Pestermite.
Yeah.
So, I do think like this argument goes back and forth. Like, oh, it's a creature, it dies to removal, right? Well. So is Emrakul.
Yeah.
Ostensibly. It's a creature died to removal.
So is Reflector Mage.
Creature died to removal. But I have to say that, like, looking at the way this format works, like, they said they tested and banned Reflector Mage because of Blue-White Flash, right? Because they weren't testing Saheeli decks.
Well, they saw the results of Blue-White Flash on Magic Online.
But I only have to imagine that there were Saheeli decks with, like, that card as well. But
for sure.
Reflector Mage is just... I think it would have been actually a lot worse currently in this format. I think sorcery speed removal continue... Like, despite Smuggler's Copter being banned, and despite, like, the way the format's supposed to move for this ban, like, tell me you're confidently going to play Declaration in Stone week 1. Tell me that's the card you want to play.
And not be a like hyper aggressive deck,
right?
Like a black-white humans deck or something like that.
I mean, one of the decks I immediately went to for testing was like Panharmonicon, right? And I'm like, okay, like losing Reflector Mage is a big deal for Panharmonicon, but like the deck still has so much value in it. Well, the one thing it doesn't have is a lot of like interaction. You know what I mean? Like it's supposed to just like overpower. It goes over the top of your opponent with so much value. Well, it doesn't matter if you're going over the top of your opponent, and like that upset me because I feel like in testing, Jeskai Saheeli, copycat is invalidated Panharmonicon, unless of course you're playing Jeskai Panharmonicon and playing the combo. And I think that's what you're gonna. I think that's what you're gonna see the most of week 1, and I think that's what people are gonna overreact to. Is you're gonna have a lot of like horrific looking decks that just have the combo. Just like somebody just is like, all right, well I have 8 slots in this deck. Well, just mash it in, just
shove it in there.
And some of them will be good, and some of them will be terrible, but the representation will be high. And this question talks about like how the metagames react to it. You know what I mean? Well, without another thing to go over the top, without we could talk about Ulamog being the thing that goes over the top, but Ulamog was already there. So if Ulamog was the better one, it would have been
the better one,
right? So it'll be interesting to see if this is going to be an overreaction or if there is really not a natural predator and everyone's just going to play the card. And then once that happens, well, we'll see after the Pro Tour.
All right, so I want to just step away from the Saheeli combo. I think that's it's a known factor.
Yeah. We've made a lot of cats.
Yeah, it's obviously going to be a thing, and it's going to be the thing at least week 1.
Well, the thing could be anything.
I think we can look at.
I mean, it could literally be anything. It could be you right now.
Well, I'm not playing in the.
The only way to figure it out is to have you drink gasoline and see if you die.
I'm not going to do that.
Well, then you're the thing.
It's true.
It's unfortunate. So I think we can look at what decks existed prior to the bans, and decks that basically don't exist anymore, or are severely weakened. So I think Black Green Delirium is a deck that was pretty good. Now, obviously, it loses its top end, but it still has a ton of good cards in it. So do you feel like that is still going to be a deck? Does it have enough interaction? I mean, you could play things like Grasp of Darkness and things like that. So
I think it's
like
still a
discard.
Deck. It needs a new threat, though. It's got to adapt and play something new. Grimflayer is not as good as it was. I mean, Shock literally makes Grimflayer worse.
Do you think it's time for like Gearhulks to step up? Maybe
because like, an advocate.
You remember
a big return.
Week 1, we had some Gearhulk decks do pretty well. They were like green, white, Gear Hulk, you know.
Well, if you're
like
asking specifically about like Delirium.
Right.
I don't think,
Yeah,
I don't think Gear Hulks are good in Delirium, no.
Okay.
Like maybe the recursion is good enough with it, but like more the way that deck operates and the way that deck operated in its construction before, we got before the bannings is it was hanging on for dear life to get to Ishkanat turn 5. You know what I mean? Aggressive starts were really good against that deck, especially because of their 1-for-1 removal. So either they're going to become more controlling, and you'll see Yahenni's expertise become a mainstay in the main deck, right? Or you'll just see them go to or they'll have to shift what they're doing because like as they're constructed, pre-bannings, that's a deck that wouldn't want Gear Hulk and wouldn't be able to take advantage of Gear Hulk. Whereas maybe now if it becomes like a Sylvan Advocate into blank deck into, then maybe it's a Gear Hulk deck. But I still think I still think you're choosing between a deck that wants to stabilize with Ishkana or wants to attack with Gear Hulk.
Yeah.
So the Gear Hulk that might see a lot more play now is Noxious.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I assume
saying
you're talking about Verdurus,
either one.
but
Yeah. But I'm just saying like week 1 we saw Gear Hulks were like the thing, and then it turned out to be like, oh no, just kidding, Emrakul's the thing. Emrakul was always the thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, Emrakul's always the thing, but they could always just cast it multiple times too.
Right. Yeah.
Without that recursive endgame, I don't know. Now I will say one card that gets a lot better because of the bannings is Mind Rack Demon. And if they go because Reflector Mage was unbelievable against Mind Rack Demon, but without without Reflector Mage, the demon it survives Grasp. It beats Heart of Kirin in combat. And so maybe you see a build that goes that way, and maybe that build wants Verdurus Gear Hulks, where now you're attacking for 8 flying on turn 5, and that's fine.
Yeah, so I do think Black Green Delirium. I think there are too many quality cards and too many. It has a lot of ways to interact with the combo as well. So I think we will see a version of this. It may not be centered around Traverse the Ulvenwald as much. Maybe just run like a couple of those just for value, but. Yeah, I think that's a deck that survives. Marvel, I don't think it's worth going like in the all-in Marvel deck without Emrakul.
It survives.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
I've seen it.
All right.
It's 3 to 4 color no matter what. It's definitely more consistently teamer than it is anything else. It's definitely based around Whirler Virtuoso, because it's a deck that can also just make infinite tokens like all the time with Whirler Virtuoso. And more often than not, it's going to be 4 color and play the combo. So the list that I have seen and some of the ones I've tested in our play group, essentially it's like they only have like 2 Ulmogs, but they also have like the combo as well.
So what exactly is the combo? Because I don't actually know this. So Whirler Virtuoso.
It's just a Healy combo.
With Copycat.
That's the combo
Okay.
I'm talking about.
Okay.
No, the Whirler Virtuoso. So Whirler Virtuoso in that deck is you can just keep making guys, but by adding Saheeli to the deck, you get to like have a really strong target to tick down on Saheeli. Like just make more Thopters, make more Thopters, and outside of like Yahenni's expertise, there's not a lot of decks that like it's surprising how effective that card is against a lot of decks right now. Like, oh, okay, incidental 1/1s forever. Either they chump block everything, and then essentially you have a deck that gets to Marvel every single turn because of the way they're blocking. Because they have triggers every time something goes to the graveyard, and then they're hitting all these, or they just get to pressure everything else by attacking for 3, 4, 5 flying each turn, plus still getting to do what they want. So plus having the threat of comboing. So I think those are versions. Now I think those decks are still clunky. You have so many do nothings in the deck.
Yeah,
but I don't. The one thing that I think that's missing still from the metagame, it has nothing to do with the bannings. Maybe a really aggressive deck, and without a really aggressive deck, it'll still lose the hard control, which is the issue.
So I
Rest
guess
in peace, real aggressive decks.
I guess I feel like this. So with some bannings, you can kind of just replace whatever card was banned with something else and then kind of move along. I don't feel like that's the case here because Emrakul was just so good and basically game ending when you cast it that I think anything else that replace that, like sure, Ulamog is good, it's not completely unbeatable. So I feel like the whole deck needs to be changed. Yeah. And especially we're talking about, a new combo deck in the format that has to worry about as well. So it's going to have some ways to interact with that, or you're just going to lose to the combo.
Yeah.
Essentially. So yeah, I'm interested to see where Marvel goes from here. So those are kind of the Emrakul decks. There's nothing else I'm missing here, right? It's basically just black, green, and marble.
I mean, you blew a Flash, which...
No, Emrakul decks.
Oh, yeah. That was it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So all right. So Reflector Mage, we had Blue White Flash was obviously the big one. You had Paramonicon, which he said is pretty much
I think like
not great now.
It's the problem is that was your best bridge card to Panharmonicon because you're taking a turn off at a critical turn of the game, so you needed that tempo swing.
That deck had Smuggler's Copter as well.
That card
Flash
was
not.
Well, so did Panharmonicon.
That
card was not as good in Panharmonicon. Like
still.
Desperately looking for anything else to play. So,
And then I guess we had some more aggressive slanted blue-white decks that were not so much Flash, but kind of like the Jim Davis deck that he played at the Invitational.
I don't think that can be a deck any longer.
No.
That deck needed Reflector Mage and Copter desperately.
Yeah, very badly.
So
that was just a tempo deck.
So I think if we see blue-white decks anymore, I think I think they're going to be a lot more control-ish decks and not so much mid-range or aggressive if we see that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know where that goes.
I think Spell Queller is still a reason to play the blue-white.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't know. I don't know that it is.
It still interacts with both parts of the
It does, combo. But it also so you still have to work really hard to make sure that it's still can that deck take advantage still of the tempo gains without Copter? Without,
right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not saying it's
not
the
to
same
mention
deck.
There's just more removal in the format. There's going to be a lot more removal in the format.
Okay,
that card,
I
think that card loses a little bit. It's still good, but
That's fair. I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to do this question because it's not just about I did want to talk about the decks that are directly affected, but also what is the format going to look like? We're going to see more removal than we normally would.
Well, we just have a new. It's so hard though because we just have a new set too. So new set plus cards getting banned. It's so hard to predict. The things we've said are pretty close to the things we know, but I could be surprised on just about anything at this point.
Yeah.
So I mean, Kozilek could be $40 next week. I don't know what to tell you.
Doubtful, but maybe
could be.
Could. Yeah, anything could happen
if I buy all of them.
Well, yeah, if you buy every single one, then you set the price, sir.
Nice.
Do you need those for Frontier or
Battle Box?
Card would be broken in half in Battle Box.
Also uncastable. There are no colorless sources. It's actually impossible.
Oh, okay. Maybe with Plane Chase Battle Box.
Oh yeah, I bought the Plane Chase collection. My wife and I bought it together to play with Battle Box. It's doing great things for our marriage. Mainly letting my wife beat the ever-living daylights out of me in Battle Box in the most ridiculous ways.
When I showed up here, she was throwing dice at you, so I don't know.
Yeah, I managed to win one game in a broken way. Next to the 9. She drew 9 cards yesterday in Battle Box. I don't think you understand. That format's supposed to be fair and grindy.
It was not.
Opponents should not be allowed to Sphinx's Revelation. I'm sorry. I'm slipping, but Plane Chase is sweet.
All right, let's bring it back. Let's just talk about the last card that was banned in Standard. So Smuggler's Copter, I think, has the widest range of decks that it was played in.
Because it was the easiest thing to play.
70% format saturation. Yes, I assume it probably does have the widest reach.
So we have Panharmonicon, Blue-White Flash, Red-Black Aggro, Mardu Vehicles, Red-White Vehicles,
Red-White Token Aggro,
Red-White Token Aggro,
Black-Green Aggro.
Yeah, Black-Green versions. So, yeah. Any deck that is trying to beat down is going to have to go a different route now, and I don't know where they go from here. This is the one...
Nowhere.
Nowhere?
They're just dead.
You don't think
they're dead in the water. So Heart of Kiran can slot into some decks. Heart of Kiran does fit, but it's just harder to accrue.
I do think it's nice that Heart of Kiran will have a chance to shine because I feel like if Smuggler's Copter
existed,
banned,
it would not.
It would not, or maybe it'd be like a one of or something like that.
Yeah. You do have Aether Harvester that does cost 1 more to cast, but that also is a potential replacement. But then in stuff like vehicles and things like that, you get clogged up on the 3-drop slot.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue because as good as that card is, I think Mortal Vehicles does still exist, but it isn't as good, and it's hard for that deck to justify playing Harvester over. Caravan?
Caravan, yeah.
They need the color. They need the mana. You know what I mean? That's how they cast their spells half the time. So, so I think the one thing to pay attention to is I think consistently most of the decks in the format have slowed down. Like, it slowed down. That deck, there was a bigger version of that deck that existed mostly in the sideboards of those decks, but that went all the way up to Avacyn, right? So maybe that's where that deck goes, where like it's not, when we played our version in the open, we were trying to get as low to the ground as possible. But I think without Copter, you can't do that anymore. You know what I mean? You just can't.
No.
So like things like Spoolcraft Exemplar, while it can crew Heart of Kieran, feels a lot less reasonable. The Apprentice, the 1/2 red guy, that seems almost unplayable right now. Outside of red black aggro, but that deck really hurts from the Copter loss too. So
Morgan's real sad right now.
Just why? What's wrong with
do you know what's
aggressive
always
decks?
playable though?
What?
Thraben Inspector.
Yeah,
70% format saturation.
that card's good.
Thraben
But
Inspector
it's not, even that's not as good now, right? Cause
that card's still incredible. Thraben Inspector is the best card ever printed. Ever printed.
I mean, I'm not going to totally disagree with you, but like,
It's like
part of the
it's
reason
like-
why it was so widely played is because it crewed a Copter so easily, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think it still gets a ton of play. Like that's
Oh
the
yeah,
sad thing.
I'm not saying it's not, but I mean, I think it could definitely hurts it a little bit.
I think that if there is a hyper aggressive deck, it is black white, like human based aggro. I think Tom Ross had like an early list that he played in a versus video that was playing like the Siphoner, and
Siphoner.
the
Ooh, yeah, I like that card.
and it seemed like it was sort of doing things. Again, I think you definitely run into the issue of it may be having some issues with the dedicated control decks, but you still have a lot of good cards for that sort of aggressive deck. And you did get a new Pseudo Lord in the Mimic. Which is something because you have Thalia as well, and there's some interesting interactions that happen with that. But I don't know if it's good enough.
Yeah, so white and black as a combination definitely. So like humans gained because I think Always Watching has become much more playable without Smuggler's Copter. Like you can only put so many things in your deck that weren't creatures before. So like I've seen a lot of lists popping up that are like back to 4 Always Watching, which is nice. And I think in black white you get some in the main deck you obviously get to play Thalia. So like your removal is depending on your mana it may be questionable, but Thalia like is a sweet roadblock for a deck that wants to apply pressure because they have to kill Thalia before they can go off. That also means you got Authority of the Consuls if you want, which is a clean answer. Yep. But black also offers, I think, the best answers in the format between actual discard spells and
Grasp.
And Lost Legacy.
Lost Legacy as well.
You know what I mean? Which I don't know if that's a card that humans wants a lot of, but it's certainly possible. I also think that black white gets some cool things like a card that didn't see play at all in the last format. But if Jeskai is now the best deck, right? Kambal, right?
Yeah.
Like that card is just sweet, right?
I'm all in on casting that guy.
Wait, that's a 2/3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't that a shot?
Nope. Nope. He's great. I'm a big fan.
So there, I think there's a lot of cards in there, and I think even something like this card we just talked about, Hidden Stockpile, is the kind of card that like you can like board into these like.
Wait, was that the fake name or the real name?
That was Hidden Stockpile is the real name. Secret Stash is the fake name. So Secret Stash, you board that card in, but I think that card like has a lot of power too because you can just keep the steady stream of guys going. While also getting to fix your draws in those really grindy matches, you know what I mean? And like it's especially if you're playing the Mimic already, then you can start doing some fun things with your servos. So it doesn't necessarily have to go like animation module on it, which is what we've seen.
No,
but like I do think that is a deck that really gains from the format opening up without Copter, right? Because like that humans couldn't beat Copter. Is like their creatures took forever to get bigger than Copter, and like Copter was just like, yeah, I'm cool to block your guys. Like yeah, my Thraben Inspector doesn't block your 2/3 profitably, but man, this thing does.
Yeah.
So like they gained from not having to attack through Smuggler's Copters, and also got some tools. So maybe that's a deck that it cascades, and gets maybe a little bit better because Copter's gone, which is good.
I just want to play the Hanweir Militia.
Yeah.
I just want to play that card. The
That card is still sweet.
Militia Captain?
No.
The 2/3 that attacks and puts humans into play. The one that can
those two do work well together though.
They are friends.
Yeah. Nice.
I want like that to be a thing.
Garrison.
I don't even want to like.
Garrison,
I don't even want to need to flip it or anything like that or meld it or what have you. But I love that card. I want that card to be good so bad.
So red white humans?
Yeah, I don't think red white humans is good enough.
Maybe not.
We'll see.
It did top 8 week 1 last time.
It's true.
There was one.
Probably that deck does not gain because Smuggler's Copter is gone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You could always watch it.
Maybe.
That's what it had before.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a lot of standard there.
Well, we're gonna keep talking about standards. So
What about modern advanced?
well, I'm just saying that's our next topic. So
Yeah, I mean,
we can modern here too.
we can kind of like loop in the standard testing question that we have below here. Anyway, we're already kind of on a roll as far as that goes.
Yeah,
we'll
keep-
finish
we
up
can keep
standard,
going on
and then
standard.
we'll talk about modern at the
Yeah,
end.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So Morgan and I have done a little bit of testing. We've had a chance to play. We had Morgan sadly was not there, but Monday being a holiday, we had a really nice testing session, down here in Columbus, and man, it's been it was fun getting a large group together. It's been fun to jam games, and I think the format is either going to be really, really interesting or really boring. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I guess.
As far as decks that I've seen that have sort of that I feel are real are probably like the green black +1/+1 encounters deck. I feel like that snake is
Yeah, the serpent is good.
is so subtly good, and there's just so many interactions that you have with that that make it so powerful.
I think a defining sequence of the format is going to be serpent into Rishkar.
Yeah,
Like-
like that interaction is so good.
look, it's great. I'm like, it makes a lot of the removal spells that even like the Jeskai deck is playing. Like,
It's just not
it's
viable.
like, man, this Harness Lightning, even with this Aether Hub, is no longer killing your snake, and that's unfortunate for me.
Yeah.
That sounds better than coconut chocolate and almond.
And it that's just like a linchpin. It just gets you to the rest of your deck so much faster. I mean, Vertimus Gearhulk is still beating. It definitely is.
Oh, yeah, and the way
they
that
just have the vapors over here.
the way that snake works
I
too.
wanna play this
like
weekend
you just
now.
put a counter on all your guys.
Yeah, and they get 2 counters.
And everything gets 2 counters. It's not like some weird thing like we're only they all do.
it's all upside.
That's sweet.
Like if you've been paying attention to the steady uptick in price of Nissa. Sorry, not big Nissa, little Nissa. It's
Little-
always
they're
little
forgotten-
Nissa.
they're forgotten.
I don't know if you know this. In every format, I guess it's 3-mana Nissa. That's the good Nissa. So there's that.
It's true.
But man, that card's
That's not
going
true.
up.
The 5-mana Nissa was pretty good, and like
World
Cons.
Waker.
World Waker, yeah.
That's fair. What is the name of the little Nissa? I don't remember.
Vastwood Seer.
No, that's the
No,
flip
the
one.
2-mana one. The original Nissa?
No,
that
I'm
was-
talking about the one that's in standard right now, and I can't remember its name.
Voices Zendikar.
Thank you. I was going to say Protector of Zendikar, but that's not it. But anyways, that card is also gross in conjunction with this because it makes plants, and then taking down already made the plants like a threat, but if all the plants suddenly become 2/3s instead, or heaven forbid you have more than one snake. Dare I say it? And the deck also gets to still play Grasp and Fatal Push and all the black sideboard cards. So I think that deck is certainly real.
Very much so. You also get one of the best artifact removal spells. You get all the best artifact removal spells if that's relevant, which it could be.
The one that puts the artifact on the
Artifact at the bottom. You also get. I guess you don't get Fragmentized, but you get Nature's Way or something like that.
Yes.
The 3-mana destroy the 1-mana destroy 3 or less, which
Natural State.
Natural State. That's what it is. Yes, that one. So you get that. You still get that, and I just think that color combination that could be where you see the green black aggressive decks kind of go to, instead of having it being like a Sylvan Advocate sort of base thing.
Yeah, for sure. Other decks in the format that I think stand to be real, I do. So, if you haven't seen this one yet, I do think people are going to play it. There is definitely an engine deck,
Paradox Engine deck, yeah.
an infinite combo Paradox engine deck that's creature based. Have you seen this yet?
I mean, I've seen
Infinite.
decks that are like this.
It's energy based. I started seeing it, a couple of lists pop up, and then when we were testing a paper, a buddy of ours had it with him, and it's really cool. So it focuses on obviously the engine, Paradox engine, and Lifecrafter's Bestiary, and
Yes.
then the Elephant, right?
Oh, okay.
And then it plays both Servant of the Conduit and Master of a Subsidiary, or something like that, whatever. The one that you pay 2 energy, or you pay an energy and mill 3. Right. So what it does is once you have your engine assembled, it also plays Cryptworth Right. So there's a lot of do nothing permanents, but once you have that set up, you tap to mill somebody, then you play the elephant and it gives you an energy, right? But it untaps all your permanents, right? So then you use the energy to mill. Right? So essentially, once you have that combo going, the elephant will never have to stay in play because you used your energy. But your creatures keep on tapping, so you have the mana to cast it. As long as you have two... Go ahead.
How many energy do you get when it comes into play?
One.
You get one.
And you use one for either Servant or the subsidiaries.
Yeah.
So if they have the mill guy, they mill you out. If they have Servant, then at least two guys, they just draw their deck. If they have a third guy, which is the idea, then they make infinite mana. And draw their deck, and then they're playing the provinces creature, the 7/7 that you can emerge, Decimator the provinces. Yeah. They also our friends list had the spicy, spontaneous, whatever the 3/3 guy that gets an energy, and then you can pay an energy to give. You
pay an energy to give a creature haste, yeah.
Because then you can give all your creatures haste. And yeah, the deck was it looked like you would think oh, this isn't anything, but the format is slow. So any of the decks that didn't have straight up counterspell couldn't I was playing against it and I was racing it, but any game where you just missed on one turn, you were done. You don't get any more turns. And it was doing this consistently on turn depending if they have Cryptolith, turn 4, turn 5.
This is what we were talking about when we were talking about Paradox Engine and the Palooza, where it's just you're not doing anything fair with this card.
Oh no, not at all.
Some kind of infinite.
It definitely has always involved either it's the deck that I've seen involved Rishkar and making all your creatures be able to make mana. But the Cryptolith is just kind of an easier way to do that theoretically.
So I think
Rishkar is more of a threat though.
I think you're playing some number of both because you can't just play 4 engine, 4 bestiary and 4 Cryptolith and have a deck.
But yeah, the both versions I've seen always play the bestiary and the Paradox Engine that's there in the elephant. But that's kind of the combo.
I think it's pretty interesting though because that combo feels pretty consistent, right? Has so many little creatures that it's you can shock some things, but it's not like the Saheeli combo where you're going to sit on your one removal spell. You have to have a lot for this one. So it's an interesting deck because I think it pressures it. You might see it pressure the format on a different angle than the Saheeli combo does. So it's interesting.
So is this almost like modern Abzan Company to modern Splinter Twin, where it's a creature deck and it can just win with creatures, but it has a combo that can assemble.
Yeah,
all the stars align.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It can also
obviously
just attack with Rishkar and other things.
Obviously not as good, but it has the option to do that. Yeah, that sounds interesting. Does it play cranes and stuff to find artifacts?
Yes, it plays cranes to find artifacts. It plays cranes instead. It plays the 1/2, the mill guy. It plays the servant of the conduit. It plays the dockhand, the 1 mana 1/2 that you can tap.
Oh yeah,
tap.
Nice.
Because once you have an engine and a bestiary in play, then you can also use that to find essentially you can always draw at least a card, and you can stack your deck.
Oh.
So
sounds like cheating.
Well, yeah,
the cards allow you to do that.
Paradox Engine does that. So I think the one thing about that, and I think there's other infinite combos too, or other really combo-y decks. I think the blue-white, shoot, no, I can't think of it. I want to say Convoke, and it's not Convoke. Improvised deck, the ramp deck. I think that could be a real deck. Because it's another deck that can play counter spells against the Saheeli deck while also casually casting Ulamog. It just does that. Oh. Yeah, that's what it does. It casts Ulamog. It just plays Prophetic Prisms and the Snare, the card that you were talking about, the 1 mana tap artifact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a good deck for Metallic Rebuke. It plays that card very, very well. And it also gets to play Trophy Mage because it wants the statuary.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, so I think there's a lot of decks like that I'm hoping when I say the format can be really exciting or really boring, it could either just be people couldn't crack Saheeli and everyone's playing Saheeli. But I also think a lot of these decks, they're starting to, as I keep playing against people and people keep throwing out ideas and I keep seeing lists, you feel them getting closer and closer. And I'm really actually pretty excited to play this weekend. Now, I'm only playing 2 new cards this weekend, but I'm a monster, so what can I say?
So...
Do you want to talk about those? Or?
Yeah, I can discuss it a little bit.
So I feel like we've talked a lot about combo decks.
Yeah.
Is this all this format is going to be?
No. So I think so you've already looked. We just talked about black green,
sure.
But I also think the green white tokens is a deck again.
Yeah.
Like whatever that build is, it may not go as big as it did before with like all the way up to Avacyn, but we've seen in testing that again, this is very good. Ceram's expertise is good.
Very
Gideon's
good.
obviously still good. White green has an issue with removal. Stasis Snare is still its best option, but it does get Thalia and Foundry the consoles for the other combos. So I think you want to make sure your color combination either has enough pressure early on or not. And these tokens decks really do have the draws. Radiant Flames is much more alive in the format, as is Fumigate, but I still think that like if you go watch the versus video I talked about before. Look at some of these draws where it's like, oh shoot, like it's too late. It is just too late. You're not cleaning it up, like.
Yeah.
And I think like that is very possible. As far as like red white or anything else, I still feel like unfortunately it's just missing something, and losing Copter means it's now 2 pieces away, because I don't think aggressive red got anything. In this set.
Gosh, no.
So would you say, like, if there is an aggressive deck,
it's
going to be like a go wide?
It's either a go wide token strategy or it's a butchered version of vehicles.
Yeah,
but nothing is going to be like, you could still try to play the really low to the ground red white deck, but without
Or black white.
or black red, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But I don't think those decks can beat Radiant Flames consistently.
No, I would have to say
Like
no.
the Copter gives them a chance for recovery. They don't have that anymore. You could say Heart of Kieran maybe, but like I think Scrapyard Scrounger's value in this format has gone way up. But
Yeah, that card is sweet.
But I do think there's still other decks out there. I just feel like we have to see what the format looks like week 1. You know what I mean? Like aggro could still be right. People's if you've been paying attention to all the articles written about Jeskai, or even the deck guide written about Jeskai Saheeli, like about the copycat decks, they're pretty consistent in their numbers, and even in my testing, like quickly showed that like I want to let's play 4 of each piece. I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. Like it consistently feels worse than it feels like good. Like I find myself in mirror matches boarding even more pieces of the combo out, just like you did in the Splitter Twin mirrors. Like, you know what I mean? So if people are all playing copycat decks, then you don't want to be the person that's got more dead cards in your hand game 1 while your opponent has more counter spells. I had this discussion with one of our testing, Elliot, who's been on the cast before, who was trying to play a version that had more planeswalkers and was still playing like glimmers and counter magic. And then we were looking at testing, and it's like you fall behind in the like maybe you can add board pressure, but you just don't have enough counters to compete throughout the game. Like you're going to give up game 1, and in a match where boarded games you may not finish. If you're playing that mirror, game 1's going to be important, and if people have to reduce their numbers in game 1, then I think some of these aggro decks do open up a little bit more. So I don't think it's we can say the format's distinctly closed on these aggressive decks. I think it may be dangerous to play them, but they're there.
Okay, but other than some newfangled vehicles deck, we're probably going to see a new style of aggro deck. Would you say that?
If we see a new style, it'll be new boss, same as the old boss. It'll be humans. You know what I mean? Or it'll be tokens.
Okay.
So it'll either revolve around like Always Watching, Nissa, or Reckless Bushwhacker. Like those will be your paradigms in those colors, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, and I think Bushwhacker's still pretty good, actually.
I think you just have to find the deck for it, which is the hard part.
I do think if you're playing week 1, go back to Selfless Spirits. Like in your aggressive slanted decks, go back to Selfless Spirit, because Radiant Flames is real. So.
How do you feel about control decks? Like non-Saheeli decks, so just straight.
Yes, you want me to talk about Dynavolt Tower? I know you want me to talk about.
No, not even talking about. I'm talking about like Grixis control or like.
Oh, I don't think that
Jeskai
exists.
Control.
Sorry, no. I don't think Grixis exists. Esper might exist.
Esper.
I think you're much higher. You're a much higher chance of seeing blue-red or even mono-blue.
Mono-blue.
Brawl and Thing in the Ice, or blue-black, what was played in the Pro Tour. That was just removal spells, counter magic, and Thing in the Ice.
The Grixis deck.
Was it actually Grixis?
Showed ESO.
Because he had Radiant Flames.
He's playing Radiant Flames and.
The version I've seen of it updated was just blue black. I apologize, and maybe it is Grixis still. The reason I've said I know that Thing in the Ice is better in the format because there's no reflective damage.
Yeah.
Like I know that happens, and Brawl makes it flip more consistently.
Yeah.
One, because you have to decide if you have a kill spell, are you going to kill the Brawl or are you going to kill the Thing in the Ice, which, depending on hands and board state is a tough decision. But then 2, you can just cycle anticipates quicker or that sort of thing. So, and that's why I mentioned the Dynavolt Tower decks, because I've seen that Brawl Thing in the Ice shell already in the Dynavolt Tower decks. I also think Fever Visions may still exist.
Oh, please. And now there's a deck in the format that I do actually want to be a thing, is that deck, because that deck is great. And I haven't played a little bit of a version of that, because I just wanted to test out and see if it was viable. And there's been one build that I did like, so maybe that's a thing, but it's probably not it's not like a tier 1 strategy, but it's definitely something that you can do.
I mean, Fever Visions is definitely good against the Jeskai decks.
Yes.
It's good against Saheeli because
you can redirect damage. It's great. It's great against Planeswalkers.
But then you just get a ton of removal for the other decks now. So I don't know. I do think there's a lot of strategies here. And I think there is definitely a control deck that's just big control. That's just like 4 Gear Hulks and infinite counter spells, and that's the deck that can also prey on like the Saheeli deck, I think. But I don't know what their card advantage engine truly is outside of just like Glimmer.
Gear Hulk.
Maybe.
Yeah, the blue red Dynavolt and the blue red Fever Visions decks are just different. Like the Fever Visions deck is a burn deck. Like that's how that deck is designed.
That is true.
Yeah, it's just designed to kill you dead, real quick. The version I was playing wasn't even playing Thing in the Ice. It was playing Storm Chaser Mage.
Oh, that's fair.
You're talking about the what's the pinger?
Thermo Alchemist.
So you're talking about like a Thermal Alchemist?
Yes, correct. That's the deck that I like.
That's Fever Vision.
That's Fever Vision.
That's the Fever Vision deck.
Because that's the only one. Because you need to have a clock to take advantage of Fever Visions and not just die to your opponent drawing free cards. Turns out that's bad.
Yeah. Blue black is also possibly an option. Blue black improvise with Tezzeret as its main win condition.
Yeah, I really want to see Tezzeret play. I think it will. I think Tezzeret is maybe before the bannings, probably not, but after the bannings, I think it's definitely possible.
I think that if you build the deck correctly, so many of your artifacts are 2-for-1s, they're just cantrips, and then they make again Metallic Rebuke very good, but also the draw 3 spell can consistently just cost you can cast it on your turn and still keep counter magic up, and winning via Tezzeret's ultimate is a very real proposition, which I think we haven't seen in a Planeswalker based deck in a long time. Like your main win condition is going to be to ultimate this Tezzeret, and you're just going to play the grindy protect Tezzeret, stop you from doing your thing game plan, and I think that's possible too. So that might be another version of control. It would be obviously blue black.
That would be sweet. Yeah, I mean Standard I think was pretty interesting. I think after the Pro Tour, seeing what did well at the Pro Tour, we had multiple different control decks. We had the kind of all-in Marvel decks that the early versions of that. You had a lot of vehicles decks, obviously, and things like that. I think that the format was really interesting, and then it just all kind of devolved into, or I should say, evolved into just Emrakul. The Marvel decks,
mashing them together and make them kiss.
The Marvel decks kind of evolved over time and got better, and you just saw that happen. So hopefully we see a format that is opened up a lot and not just all Saheeli combo decks.
Right. I do also want to definitely reinforce that people shouldn't sleep on Walking Ballista.
So I want to take a moment here. Having tested the format a bunch last week, I retract what I said during the Palooza. The card is better than I thought.
Okay.
I apologize to all Walking Ballistas. I did not mean to offend you or your families.
But yes, that card again, it definitely just has built-in protection from Saheeli combo, and it's also very great in the green-black aggro decks, the counters decks.
I don't think it's a great answer to Saheeli. Technically, it is an answer.
They have to kill it before they can go off.
Yeah, but probably wouldn't be too hard.
Sure, but they have to waste a spell on it, and it theoretically does give you time. I mean, it's not the best answer, but it is an answer that you can.
It is something.
It is an answer that you can that you can main deck and not feel terrible.
Yeah, put it this way: don't have that as your main form of disruption.
No,
but it's nice to have another incidental thing that's good against it.
Also, that card. It's busted. It can be broken, and it does. I've seen it in the Paradox Engine decks.
Yeah, it is a finisher in that deck as well.
Yeah, because you have all this mana. Well, don't mind if I make this a 7/7 or an 8/8 or more,
or 2020.
Oh, yeah. 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also there's so many synergies in the tokens, the counters deck that it just. When I looked at it and I looked at the 4-mana activation, I was like, you have to put so much mana into this. But alongside Nissa and the Snake, it's much more reasonable. So, yeah, I take it back. That card will see probably a lot more play than I considered that it would. You're welcome.
I'm glad you're coming around on that.
I have to be able to admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah, for once.
So, wow, you know to criticize me for like admitting a fault. Like you could just be
I gotta criticize you for something.
Okay,
I don't know.
Thanks.
I don't know. All right, let's talk about Modern.
Oh, okay. So I can talk about the deck I'm going to play. That's fine.
No, talk about it. Talk about it.
We're done. All right. No, yeah.
So I'm going to play zombies. I think
Zombies.
Yeah, that's why. Remember I said I'm not going to play like Dude, zombie. I saw a thing this week. That song came out in 1997. It's 20 years old this year.
Song came out when I was 8. I'm Katie just called me old.
I was in high school.
I don't appreciate that.
I certainly wasn't.
I'm almost 29. It'll be just under a month away.
Yeah. I'm almost 29 too. The opposite direction. So that's how time works, right? Dave, you tell me.
I don't even know.
That's what you get for criticizing me. Anyways, so I'm gonna play zombies.
Black Red Zombies.
Black Red Zombies. Yes. Grixis, I guess, if you want to play that game, because it plays prized amalgams but no blue sources. It's pretty close to what it was in the last format. Like it's Crypt Breakers and Scrapyard Scroungers and Haunted Dead and prized amalgams and Voldaran Pariahs. But the thing is, I picked up that deck after the Pro Tour because of how well it tested against the Jeskai control decks that were doing well at the Pro Tour. They want to control the board, but they don't have a lot of interaction for recursion, and they don't win the game quickly. So it butchered them. Like, it was just butchering those decks. And I actually let Elliot, who we just talked about, borrow that deck for a PPTQ. He had never played a game with the deck, and he took the whole tournament, and it was just like, oh, this is crazy. But then the format shifted towards, Ishkana. And the zombies deck was not nearly as not nearly grindy enough to deal with the onslaught of black-green Delirium decks. But now this format is swinging back to black-green control, and Delirium has definitely, even if it still exists, is down a peg. And it's felt pretty good in testing. They do have disallow now, so they can interact with your Haunted Dead activations, which is a thing. Don't get me wrong, but overall, like, it's been very good. You get to play solid removal. You get to play Fiery Impulse or Fiery Temper, which does stop the combo. Lightning Axe, which is really good at stopping the combo. Sometimes you get to Lightning Axe and Fiery Temper to kill both halves of the Saheeli combo. And you have Unlicensed Disintegration, which also kills both halves of the Saheeli combo. Plus, that removal is just good against the format. And then the real draw to the deck is like how good Black's sideboard is. Distended Mindbender is wonderful with Haunted Dead. Like, you can put Haunted Dead into play by and untap with it on turn 3, and then just cast Distended Mindbender on turn 3, and you just you have a 5/5, and you just destroy their hand. But you get Lost Legacy, you get Transgress, also Key to the City, which like for all these dirtily tokens decks, like you're like, oh, that's fine, I'll block this, I get to bring this back. Oh, and this is unblockable. And against the control decks, you get to operate almost like a flash deck, where you're just drawing 2 cards a turn and only playing things on their turn. And I think it's well positioned, and no one is talking about it.
Yeah, it's definitely a deck that...
Which could also mean I'm crazy. Don't get me wrong. I understand that could also mean I'm just wrong. But testing is showing how well it's positioned against these decks, and I think it's just one of those decks that's sort of like, it peaked a while ago in the format, and I still had it like just sitting here built because like I had it, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna sleeve this up and try it out. And we ran it through the Copycat Gauntlet and a couple other decks, and I was like, all right, I'm feeling really good about this. Every time you cast Distended Mindbender, it feels great.
You want to talk about good against the combo? That actually just takes both pieces if they have them.
Oh man.
Oh man.
So, but yeah, I'm. It's one of those things where like I feel like so weird because again, the only cards I'm going to play from the new set are more than likely 2 Heart of Kiran's. So it just seems like am I doing something wrong? Should I I could play Copycat if I wanted to, but I think the other part of it is considering the format. If I really, and I just mentioned, if you really think you could play Copycat Mirrors all day, I just don't want to do that. I just want to do that in my life. As you know what I mean? I don't want to try and tune for a mirror and get blown up by the rest of the format, or not tune for a mirror and then can't beat the mirror. I'm just gonna play the other deck, the one with lightning bolts.
You can just hope to play against all the decks that you would have played against, but instead of the mirror, it's just good matchups.
Yeah, and the really cool thing is the deck still offers a lot of surprises out of nowhere, so you can really. You can create, unlike, so I think some of the other, now this is the most aggressive deck. It has some unbelievably aggressive starts. They're all centered around Prized Amalgam. But you get to do some cool things, especially with Voldaren Pariah, where instead of you being afraid of them going for the combo, they're the ones who have to keep sitting there with a bad hand and getting pecked, for 2 or 3 each turn, and all they tap out for the combo like on turn 6, and you just are like, oh, well, I'll bring back this Haunted Dead to discard this Voldaren Pariah to make you sack your creatures, and now I get to untap and either A, kill you, or B, kill the Saheeli, and those turns are being able to flip the paradigm. Feels very good. So that's where I'm at in the format. You may think I'm crazy, and I could be, but Zombie. Hey.
I can support it. I think it's a good
I know
deck.
you like that deck, though.
I do.
I think that's where Red Black Aggro has to go, though. So
I agree. Yeah, if that's your choice, you unfortunately have to spend some more money to get like some sideboard cards, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm borrowing Kalidas. So.
And Heart of Kieran
Thanks,
is another card showing up in that deck as well.
Yeah, I wish I could trade, I don't know, my 7 Smuggler's Copters for one.
Hey,
probably can't, though.
Someone might want it. You never know. Probably no one.
Well, I was going to say, like you mentioned, like the aggro decks are going to have to, Radiant Flames is going to be a very good card, and I think with this deck,
also
it's pretty resistant. Like it gives you have a lot of ways to recover from that pretty easily. So it makes sense that would be good against the control decks.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
So
let's shop on Modern.
So yeah, I haven't been testing Standard much. I'll leave that to you guys. I'm not playing in the Open this weekend, so.
Oh, and Mike, just so you know, Star City Games is buying Smuggler's Copters at $1 per copter, so.
Oh, good.
You can get a third of a Heart of Kieran.
I think they're selling Heart of Kieran for $23.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you'll need a few more Smuggler's Copters.
It's not even a third.
Yeah, not even a third. Well, it was 20 last time I checked, so.
I hate everything.
It's all right. But,
I forgot about my 25% trade-in bonus. Hold on.
Might get there. Anyway, continue on with the...
You're a weird squishy stabbing sound. It's not me. It's not me.
So Modern.
So I've been thinking a lot more about Modern lately since I'm not going to be playing in the Open, so I don't really have a reason to test, I guess, right now. And oddly enough, all the decks that I was playing in Modern played Gitaxian Probe. So, so I have to find something else to play.
Yes, you do.
I was trying to think of like where the format was going to go. So obviously, Probe is in a lot of the faster decks. Whether that be the creature-based combo decks like Infect or Death Shadow, or whether it's something more like I guess not really Storm. That wasn't really a thing, but. Probe was just in faster decks. We'll say faster decks in general.
Yeah, it was a card that served to speed up decks in general.
Right, and the decks that played it generally didn't care too much about their life total.
No,
or purposely wanted to lower it. So there's that. Then Grave Troll obviously allowed Dredge to be a very explosive deck. Often turn to your dredging. 30 cards, whatever. So with the format generally slowing down, I feel like that's going to be good for decks like Tron to come out. I mean, I feel like the format in general is going to shift to more of a mid-rangey place.
Nope. To quote our president-elect, wrong.
Sad.
Wrong.
Well, I think with the bannings,
Fake
as
news.
well as
Is CNN talking about Modern? Is that what we're doing here? You CNN talking about Modern? BuzzFeed telling us all about the Modern hot takes?
fake news.
Fake news.
I feel like with the bannings as well as Fatal Push being introduced to the format, I feel like There's just a lot. Pretty much, like, look at it this way: Infect gets worse, and then the other decks get better tools against Infect.
I don't disagree. I don't think that puts us into some sort of mid-range mire.
No, I mean, in Modern, so wide of a format, there's so many different decks to play. It's never going to have a dramatic shift. I don't think this is going to dramatically shift it, but I think you will see. Some of the players that were basically mono Infect players may look for other options now because maybe they feel like it's not as good, and like maybe Dredge gets slowed by a half a turn or a turn. I think that makes a lot of difference.
It does. Yeah, you're not wrong.
So
I mean, you're wrong, but you're not wrong.
I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong.
Yeah, you as a person are wrong, but your thought right now is not.
Okay.
I'm just saying I disagree with you.
I'll take that. Sure, I'll take that. So yeah, I don't know. I really didn't know what to play. I kind of considered Jeskai Control, but not really knowing exactly how the format's going to shift, and also like not really playing that deck for a while. I don't really want to jump in and play that. I'm playing in the Modern Classic, by the way, so hopefully I can do well in that. I thought about Grixis Control, but then like if Burn and Tron are going to pick up, which I do expect, that's not a great choice. That's not very good against either of those decks. So I think I'm going back to old faithful Grixis Delver.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That was the audible gasps of Morgan and I.
Yeah, I know.
Not shocked.
And honestly, it wasn't my first choice.
That's a lie. That is a lie.
No, it really wasn't. I looked into Esper Flash. There was another deck I was like kind of working on.
Can you play Esper Menor?
Yeah, it might be good, but I haven't tested it, and I don't. I would want to try it in some smaller tournaments first.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm going to stick with Grixis Delver. It does lose Probe, obviously, but I think that deck, Probe was not essential for that deck. You do have to change it a little bit. So maybe Young Pyromancer maybe not as good as it was because Probe with that card was very good, and so.
Yeah, I'd love to have the chance to start like seeing how the format shapes up. Maybe it slows down just enough that you can start playing some of the cards that were really fun when, to be quite honest, when Splinter Twin was still in the format. But things like you look talk about Delver, things like Risefall, which I think like we're starting to see play, and it was like a really fun card to cast in really interactive matchups, but obviously is not doing enough in the aggressive matchup. So hopefully, even if it slows down just a little bit, just opening up some cards that we haven't seen for a little bit, I think would be sweet. Yeah, I said last week that I got Monastery Mentors, which is awkward because like without Probe they are a little bit worse. But I do think that Fatal Push is so good that like it's worth exploring those strategies again. And just Disruption is still good. You know what I mean? Like if the format goes back to like a bunch of Tron and stuff, well if I'm going to be a blue base deck, I guess I want Thoughtseize. So like. I like that card a lot, and the old Thoughtseize Extraction while you have a mentor in play doesn't feel bad, even though that card's like $1 million now.
Yeah.
Surgical Extraction? Yeah, it's like $20. Yeah.
Glad
I only have one.
Glad I got mine. Yeah.
Oops, I only have one.
It's my collective brutality. So. But I think I agree with you on that. Like maybe you said Esper Flash. Is that like Restoration Angels?
Yeah, I mean the thought process behind it was we saw Jeskai Flash was kind of a thing, and with the printing of Fatal Push, you can kind of have something similar to a Lightning Bolt. Doesn't do all the exact things that Lightning Bolt does. Bolt lets you race and things like that. But Fatal Push gives you the black equivalent, I would say, or as close as you're going to get. And then you also have things like Tassiger, which gives you a little bit more of a resilient creature. Doesn't die to Fatal Push, doesn't die to Bolt. You can cast it for 1 mana, so you can still hold up mana on your turn to counter something. So that was kind of the idea behind it, but it's not really all hashed out.
Yeah, no, I like it. You get to, I like that. And I think if you're sitting in Esper, then like having access to 4, if you want 4 Fatal Push, 4 Path, it's got to feel really good. Just having no incidental like removal. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to ever get blown out by trying to bolt their guy, and they have the pump for it. Like they have to have the hexproof or the protection, or like the creature's going to die, and that's really satisfying.
I even thought about Esper Charm. I mean, I really want to play that card
Oh
again.
man, that card is sweet. See, that's the kind of card I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
insane. Man, that's so good.
And it's still on the table. That's it.
And I think like you've been stuck in Grixis for a while because you felt the need to have Terminate in addition to Bolt.
I think Kolaghan's Command is a big. That's a big thing.
It is. You could splash for it if you want. Whatever, play 4 colors.
I also thought of that too.
Yeah, there you go. There we did it. Oh man. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Probe does to the format. And again, I think any number of decks that has to add, whether it be Infect, whether it be Delver, any deck that has to add, 2 to 3 to 4 more cards into their deck, you know what? That's refreshing. You might not know what you'll see. You know what I mean? Maybe we joked last week, but maybe your Infect opponent will go like end of turn peak, and you'll be like, oh shoot, they're still doing it. You know what I mean? Like that would be cool. You know what I mean?
Much more likely for your Infect opponent to go surgical main deck.
That's also possible as well. Like oh cool, fatal pushes. No more of them.
Also, I get to see your hand.
Right. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good.
That's the
Like
point.
the inadvertent probe. Like you don't get to draw the card, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm
don't know about that
interested to
one.
see where these things go.
So you don't get to draw a card, but sometimes you get a card out of your opponent's hand, which is
So-
It
gross.
doesn't sound good to me, to be honest.
If you hit
but
all your opponent's
it's
removal
hilarious.
spells, haven't you drawn a card? Isn't that virtual card advantage?
I don't think that's how it works.
Probably not, and it may not be good, but at least that's some of the talk that I've been seeing. Of course.
The talk of the town. Yeah, I think these bannings in Modern felt, like Standard is so drastic, and with a new set, we don't know what's going to... But Modern just feels just a little bit more open than it was. Just a teensy bit slower. And that may be enough to, I think for a lot of people, all of us here included, like, we still really enjoyed Modern anyways. Like, I like playing Modern.
Yeah.
So the prospect of, like, Modern, which we already thought wasn't bad, being better, it's just great.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, it definitely wasn't the worst that it's been. I mean, we lived through Eldrazi Winter.
we did it. I feel like we should start collecting these badges of things that like you survived. Like
Just t-shirts. Like I lived through a
Well,
Jolly
no,
t-shirt, and all I got was this
I
lousy.
want like Boy Scout badges though. You know what I mean? Like Dave would have the most of them out of all of us.
Yeah, of
you know
course.
what I mean? But like each successive banning, you live through all of it. It's great.
Yeah, I was there when Jason Stoneforge got banned in Standard.
I was
sad.
there.
I
When,
had four. I had 4 of each of those. So.
I was there when Uncle Randy stopped, being on camera. I was there when Worth left.
It's true. Now, you said that you disagreed with Dave initially in his assessment of where Modern's going.
I think so. Just hearing him say just like it's going to go super like much more mid rangey. I still don't know if that's true. I think the biggest tell of that will be if the Abzan, the collected company decks make a return to the format.
That'll be interesting. That is a strategy that has not at all existed.
I mean, how do they can't beat Death Shadow consistently, and they certainly can't beat Infect consistently. You know what I mean? Like you just didn't. So if those decks are slower, right, or if Death Shadow isn't, because like Death Shadow,
I think Death Shadow is actually dead.
yeah, Death Shadow is now just death.
It's just, yeah.
There's no more shadow.
There's no shadow.
Yeah, it's
sun's
funny
out.
because like a Magic Online, you have this weird format where you have the bannings in place, but you don't have Fatal Push, and Death Shadow's still playable.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure. I think the deck is still playable, but it's hanging on to like it might be tier 3 now. So
The deck definitely plays a lot more Tarmogoyfs, in case you're wondering.
I think there was a Grixis version. I think. Right, it was kind of like a
yeah,
mix
so it was like
of
a mix of the Kiln Fiend sort of. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe it has to go something like that. But
that deck relied heavily on Probe.
Probe is so
Kiln
good.
Fiend
In that
decks
deck.
like definitely needed Probe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, they still exist, but even the deck I've been running the last few weeks, the Jeskai aggro deck, like I'm going to play Serum Visions. I want the deck to still exist, but I know it's going to be slower. I know it is not going to have the turns that it was capable of before, and that's probably okay. Like at the end of the day, it's not the worst thing in the world. So I'm excited to see where it goes, but I don't think that, like I think I would have to see like again like the company decks come back, and like even like Jeskai and Ahiri make more of a return to the format for me to think like, okay, this is what's happening. Or like Blue Moon, show me Blue Moon coming back to the format, and maybe I'll agree that it's slowed down that much. But I don't think I predict that just yet.
Blue Moon's on the table too.
I know you were talking about it.
Yeah.
You know what deck I really want to try though? Like, I just can't get it out of my head. I want to play Red Green Blitz so bad.
Oh man,
I just want to play eight turn 2 mana effects. That's all I want to play. I want to play those, and I want to play the Revolt 2-drop as well. And I just want to Tarkus command some people. So I think I'm going to make it happen.
Sleeve it up, man. If you don't day 2.
No, I don't have that option available to me.
Okay.
There are some family birthdays that I may be missing this weekend. So if I do not day 2, I'm going to those.
Gotcha.
It has been decreed. So, but there is ding a just announced IQ in February after regionals at Comic Town, which is Modern, and I can't go to regionals, but I might be able to go to that invitation qualifier. So
yeah,
I mean, you go to both.
Man, you play so. It's really sad how much less Magic you get to play now that you have this other.
Yeah, man, I'm not playing in the Open.
Yeah, you're just playing on Sunday.
Just Sunday.
Yeah, but I think we roll back the tape on here. It'd be pretty clear that you're okay with not playing Standard rather than Modern, anyways.
it's true.
That's true.
Yeah,
but I mean, an Open in my backyard. Still would want to play.
I mean, you're open to play in your backyard whenever you want.
It's yours.
It's yours.
It's got a lot of dog poop in it right now.
Oh well.
I have to clean that.
This is the worst part of the season. Like it was cold, so you didn't pick it up, but now it's been kind of warm and
it's
slushy.
thawed out. Yeah, thawed out.
It's,
Now it's
God.
Yeah, you don't want to be out there.
Rough.
I got sick. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
All right. I think that pretty well sums up our discussion. I would have to say.
Wait, wet dog poop sums up our discussion.
perfect.
Modern knows dog poop. There you go.
Perfectly. Specifically wet, slushy dog poop.
Oh God.
Anyway, so as we've said time and time again, there is the Open in Columbus this weekend. It is the debut of Aether Revolt and the bannings, of course. So it's quite an exciting time. I know some of us are going to be in varying degrees of attendance as far as that goes. So if you are coming down for the Open, feel free to stop us, say hi, and talk about the format and talk about what you like and don't you like, and what you've seen. I definitely want to hear what people have seen.
We want the more stories.
Yeah, I want the more stories. So we have some good discussion points to talk about next week.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoys the format and they don't find it Aether revolting.
Oh, you. Anyway, and just for weather, it is going to be rainy on the weekend, so be prepared. But it is going to be 62 and 58 as the highs. So typical January Ohio weather.
I can't wait to wear my 1960s basketball shorts. I've been waiting for January weather like this to do it.
Anyway. But that is the only thing that's going to be going on over the weekend. So we'll hopefully see some of you there. Of course, this has been, another episode about your End-Step. You can always, get in contact with us via various methods. We do have a Twitter account. It is simply your End-Step if you do a search for us. We have a little @ symbol in front of it when you add us, so it makes sense when you do that. There is also our email address if you wanted to reach us through there. It is @yourendstep@gmail.com. And we also have of course, Facebook. You can do a quick search for Facebook. Do a quick search for Facebook. Go to Facebook, then do a quick search for us. We're just at your End-Step on Facebook. Real easy to find us, I swear. While you're on Facebook, also take a quick look at Comic Town Gaming Center. They are, of course, our lovely sponsor, and you can check out all their events there, or go to their website, which is worldofcomictown.com. We, of course, do have multiple ways you can download us to your phone or various other smart device. So if you have iTunes, you can get us through there. If you have an Android device, you can get us through the Google Play Music Store. And then we also are on MTG Cast. And while you're at MTG Cast, definitely take a look at some of the other shows they have on there. Pretty much any type of Magic that you like playing, they have a show for it. So definitely, check it out and see, find a new show that you can listen to that's Magic related. And let me take a look here. We should, of course, be back next week to discuss everything that has happens over the Open weekend and everything like that, and anything else exciting that happens in the community. Lord knows that we enjoy our fair share of controversy, so maybe something interesting will happen over the weekend. But until then, we will catch you next time. And you have a great one. Bye.